Hello there, beautiful people, and welcome back to Devil's Advocate Gaming. We missed you. What this was supposed to be, and what you could probably see in the previous video, is that we're doing a Life is Strange tier list, right? Not like a fucking power tier list or who to date tier list, just a tier list on who here are the best people, and we're ranking them most toxic to least toxic. Unfortunately, a certain character makes this difficult, right? The X factor I'm talking about is Nathan Prescott. See, the thing about Nathan is that a lot of the fans of this game, myself included at the start of this, we're not really convinced that Nathan's actions are his own. And if he has a, mental hang-up, something that's making him act out of his usual character that we don't know about or doesn't get explored, then it wouldn't really be fair to say, oh, Nathan's the most toxic person in the world, if there are things outside of his control, internal factors that we simply can't analyze from the outside. Luckily, there's an entire field of study dedicated to analyzing people's mental states, and that would be psychology and psychiatry, and that's where we have to approach Nathan Prescott. Now, I did just want to cross-reference him with symptoms listed in the DSM, which would be the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, or, mental hangups. But the more I looked into it, the more I saw patterns and behaviors repeated and regularly acted on by characters in this game. And I thought that would be a much more interesting topic to talk about. So this is going to be Life is Strange's tier list, Mental Health Edition. And the exact branch of mental health we're going to be talking about are personality disorders, not mental disorders. We might get into mood disorders a little later. I do want to make a video about Kate Marsh and her slow descent into depression, and a little bit about Joyce and Chloe in the alternate timeline. But for right now, we're going to go through Max and the Sinister Six, and we're going to talk a little bit about behavioral patterns they show, and what that might mean about their mental health and personality disorders we could diagnose them with hypothetically. Now, there are a couple other things I want to move into after this. Again, I did make a tier list for chapter 1 of Life is Strange. Not season 1, not the whole game, just the first chapter. If you would like to see that, you're more than welcome to. It's a lot messier than this one, let me tell you. But if you want to watch this one first and then go back and cringe, that's perfectly fine too. The only thing I'm going to ask is that you hit that like button, you subscribe, you do all that YouTube stuff. If you like more discussions like this, everything helps. But without further ado, we could probably just hop right into it. So let's start with Max before we get into the rest of the Sinister Six. Oh, those S's are probably blowing up my mic right now. So Max Caulfield. We're going to put Max right here. She's pretty cool. We're going to go back and do all these guys at the end. They're not going to get these full-on discussions, but we are going to do them. But Max belongs right here and pretty cool. If she has a personality disorder, it would probably be AVPD, also known as Avoidant Personality Disorder. Now, what is avoidant personality disorder? This is a personality disorder defined by a desire for and aversion to attention and affection, leading the subject to both long for and, duck out of the way of social interactions. You can almost say they're avoiding them. If you look at the symptoms for avoidant personality disorder, you're going to see a lot of examples of avoiding people. But why? Why do these people avoid people? Well, avoidant people are going to avoid people. Avoidant people are going to avoid people. That's going to be a tongue twister by the time we're at the end of this. But the reason avoidant people typically avoid people is for the fear of being judged, right? Let's say little Maxie here was to go up to a group of other people, right? She starts to interact with them and she starts to personalize with them. She starts leaking personal information. Her likes, let's say she's a big old geek, she likes skater boys, stuff like that. And they just laugh at her and dismiss her. Well, Max isn't going to approach groups of people anymore after that. And when you look into AVPD, you're going to see that the subject is going to avoid social engagement, but also avoid risk-taking behaviors in general. And that's going to be because, well, when you go out on a limb, when you risk something, you also risk embarrassing yourself. So this is definitely not the person who grabs the mic during karaoke. Does this make Max a bad person? No. God, no. And the thing about AVPD, as far as personality disorders go, it's not really a personality disorder, or so that's what my research is telling me. It may just be a recognizable group of behaviors that teens are exhibiting when they're coming out of their own shell for the first time. Not everyone blossoms at the same time, all right? Now, why do I say Max has ABPD? Fucking obvious. Max actually has to go the extra mile to talk to people. Usually, if you look at the beginning of the game, she pops in her headphones and she keeps walking straight forward, no eye contact, no nothing. She's by herself, and that's not actually a preference, because after Max gets her powers, we get to see that she can risk talking to people, but the thought of being rejected or not appreciated in a conversation cripples her. Fortunately, she has the ability to manipulate time, so she can literally strike up a conversation, find the pivotal information she needs, and then rewind to come off as socially adept. It's like an introvert's wet dream, so to speak. But I guess that's the big part about avoidance. If she was just an introvert, like say Evan here, where the fuck are you, Evan? If she was an introvert like Evan, she wouldn't even want to be around people, but she does. She wants to be around people, but she's afraid of, you know, not criticism in general, but she's afraid of the critical eye. So unlike Evan, who does prefer his alone time, Max Max just kind of skirts on the outside of society until Chloe comes. The real reason I see this personality trait as fitting Max so well is because Max does in fact have a little bit of social anxiety manifested in a fear of her own internalized self-doubts. We see at the very beginning she wants to promote a picture to Jefferson, but she stops herself cold. Why? Is she untalented? Well, she is turning in a selfie, so I personally wouldn't have given that the time of day, but you know, that's why Jefferson's running the class and I'm not. Max has talent. The people around her are evident of that. Well, no one really says it in game except Jefferson, oddly enough. Max apparently has talent. She's just too afraid to share it with the world. Jefferson tries to coax her out of her shell, but she ends up just going right back in, no problem. Of course, Max does grow out of this by the end of the story because of all of these characters, no less. I guess that's why they're the main characters. So, Life is Strange 3 or whatever, where we get Max coming back. Maybe I'd play it. Max shouldn't even be avoiding anymore. She should just be a calm, confident person. Alright, that's enough time on Caulfield.